And welcome everyone to this week's episode of Craze's Corner. Today we're going to be talking about my top 23 quarterback rankings. We're going to go through all 23, and Will's going to give his opinions on guys that I'm too high on, guys that I'm too low on. So you definitely don't want to miss this episode. Will, how are we doing tonight?
Good, Zach. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. We got football this month. It's now July. There's football July 31st, the Hall of Fame game. So we're almost there, almost all the way through the summer. So it's a perfect time to start talking about our fantasy rankings. Obviously, things are going to change a little bit from now and then, training camp, injuries, that kind of thing. But as of now, I've got all of the quarterbacks statted out, and we're going to get right into my rankings. First, I'm going to start out with guys from rank 17 to 23. I've got 22 points between these players. Starting off at the bottom, Drake May at 23. I think that this Patriots offense can take a little bit of a step forward. I'm just not super convinced that the weapons are going to be able to get Drake May to be a top, 20 guy quite yet. But he is definitely close in this range. All of these guys are very close together. 5 points ahead of Drake May. I have Tua. Injury questions. What is this offense going to look like? They traded away Jonnu Smith. We'll see how everything goes with Darren Waller that they just brought in. Not really sure that helps them move the needle at all. And then I have J.J. McCarthy with the Vikings. I like what the Vikings offense did last season, but I do think that with J.J. McCarthy, they're going to have to run the ball more. They brought in Jordan Mason. The passes should go down from what we saw Sam Darnold doing last year. So I just don't know. Like J.J. will be great. And I think that he'll be great in the NFL, but I'm not 100% certain it's just going to be fantasy relevant this year. Matthew Stafford at 20, great offense. They have the two weapons, but he doesn't do anything on the ground, so you're not going to get any upside there. Jordan Love with the Packers, don't really have a wide receiver one.
There you go.
We'll see how that transitions. Justin Fields has the rushing upside. I have him at 18. So that's an interesting spot with the Jets. If he can play the whole season, there is a chance he could see a little bit even higher on this list just due to his rushing upside. And I have C.J. Stroud without Tank Dell this upcoming season. We'll see how the rookies do in the Texans, but with the offensive line, I am a little nervous. So between Stroud, Fields, Love, Stafford, McCarthy, Tua, and Drake May, Will, is there anyone that really stands out to you? Anyone where you differ, you think should be higher or lower?
I think it's a good grouping. I think there's potential for some of these guys to go much further up.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a couple guys that could go way down, right? Like, Stafford, to me, the age, worry a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And the change of the wide receiver core. Yeah, they got Adams, but it's still a little bit of adjustment. I think he could be higher, but I also think there's a chance he doesn't play every game.
Yep.
And he might hurt you at the end of the season, because I think the longer the season goes on, the more worry I have for him hurting something, right?
Yeah, the arm's going to wear out too.
Right? So Tua, same concern as you expressed. I kind of like Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
If they let him play the whole year, now I'm not saying the Jets are a 10-win team or anything like that, but I think his points could be a little higher than this.
Mm-hmm.
And he could be a sneaky pickup for a team. Stroud, like you said, you don't know. I mean, right? I'm sure you're thinking he could be much higher on this list.
Yep.
But I think you have him right now where it's safe. And McCarthy in May, I mean, career-wise, probably get better each year. You just don't know. I could see both of them surprising people, maybe be top 15. Don't know if one of them could sneak into the top 10. It just depends.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, so these rankings I've statted out all 32 teams, and I've kind of projected, kind of like what the season could be for them, trying not to make any huge, like, I'm going to call this guy's going to have 2,000 rushing yards like that. I'm not calling for any 5,500 yard passing seasons. Obviously, that could happen, but it's not really within the acceptable, like, predictions range where you're predicting that to happen because it's so rare. So, I do like Fields' rushing upside, and if you're in, like, a super flex league, he's a guy you could be targeting with your second quarterback to just
and everybody who owns a Jet running back is like, no. But Jordan Love, on that list, the one that makes me the most unsure is Jordan Love in that first grouping. Because I think he's under here. I think he could be top 15.
But
at the same time, I don't think you're wrong. Like, until you see the first couple of weeks of a wide receiver appear that he is actually working with. But I wonder if there's a bigger upside for him this year on rushing because we're unsure of the wide receivers.
Yeah, we'll see if he can stay healthy. He had the injuries last season, so the rushing they might still be wary about letting him rush because of that. I got 4 guys in the next tier going from 332 points to 348. So again, these guys are pretty close together. We've got some second year, some younger guys. We got Bo Nix with the Broncos. They've brought in a couple different things to this offense. We'll see if they can take another step forward from what was a good rookie season for Bo Nix. Caleb Williams with the Bears, new look offense. They've got the weapons there. This should be a much improved offense. Kyler Murray with the Cardinals, again, rushing upside if he's healthy. And I have Bryce Young at 13, which I think is one where I'm a little bit higher than most people are on him. I've just projected out the offense. I think that with McMillan coming in, this offense, he was a top 10 quarterback at the end of last season when he was playing down that stretch. So to me, I originally had him, I think, at 8 when I statted this out, and then I kind of brought that down a little bit because that was a little bit too high for me. But I do think that these guys all here are all, Kyler probably not in the same kind of way as these other guys where they're all going forwards with their careers. They should all take a step forward this year, but just not quite going to crack that top 12 yet. Do you have any outliers here?
I actually think you have Bryce Young too low.
Yeah.
When I look who you have above him,
yeah,
I think he's at least 2 more spots up, if not 3. Murray, the knock on Kyler is his commitment to the game.
Yep.
And I don't know, right? Like none of us know, like which Kyler Murray are we getting? The guy who wants to play or the guy who is more focused off the field? And that's not a knock, but if we're talking about fantasy, you have to factor that in. Williams scares me.
Yeah.
Right? Because even like at SC, he'd have those really dominant games. He reminds me of Kyler. Is his heart really in this? And I think those stories earlier this year in the offseason when they talked about how he did not want to go to the Bears. He did not want to go to the Bears. If he starts out rough.
Yeah, so for Caleb Williams, I have him statted out at 3,800 yards, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 450 on the ground with 2 touchdowns. So that's what I think is definitely attainable in this offense. With DJ Moore, Odunze, Burden, they have the 2 tight ends. So I think that he's a guy that is definitely riskier, but I do think that he has at least upside. He could be this season the first ever Bears quarterback to get that 4,000 yards.
Yeah, if he's committed and that offensive line is improved and he's committed, well, new coach. I think you got him slotted right. It's just I'm looking at this list in the slots and there's when you do the break into groups, there's just a couple guys you can see going way up or way down, and Caleb is one of those guys.
Yeah, I would agree. And then we got the next group here, 7 to 12. Dak Prescott, I have at 12. I think that with CD and George Pickens, they have Jake Ferguson still. I think that this team is going to be throwing the ball. So with the running back situation, Devonta Smith, Miles Sanders, Jayden Blue, this team's going to be throwing the ball all over the place. And I think if Dak's healthy, he's a top 12 quarterback. I have the Jaguars offense being very good. So between these next ones, 351 for Dak, 352 for Trevor Lawrence, 352 for Jared Goff, 359 for Brock Purdy. So these guys are all super close. But with Trevor Lawrence, I do like Brian Thomas Jr. I think with the addition of Travis Hunter, whatever he plays, they have Brenton Strange at tight end. So they have some weapons. They bring in Liam Cohen, who has had Baker Mayfield, who is number 7 on this list. He's been good in that system, so we'll see. Jared Goff with the Lions. I'm a little bit nervous with the system changing, but hopefully with the weapons that they have, I'm projecting Jameson Williams to have a big season this year. So that can't happen without Jared Goff being all right for fantasy. Brock Purdy is a name that worries me a little bit, but in the Kyle Shanahan offense, they're going to be throwing the ball. He's done it with, Juwan Jennings before, and I think that we'll see that offense still be okay. Christian McCaffrey is going to be playing at least at the start of the season. which helps out Purdy because he can just dump the ball off. Justin Herbert in Los Angeles there with the Chargers. This offense again takes a step forward. Ladd looked great last year. This offense is going to continue, even though it's Jim Harbaugh offense. It's still run through Justin Herbert. They have a decent offensive line.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield at 7. With the addition of Igbuka, Chris Godwin will be healthy. Mike Evans. There is just a lot of mouths to feed in this offense, and for that to happen, Baker Mayfield has to get, the yardage and the touchdown numbers. So I think that this, to me, there's a massive gap between 7 and 6, which we'll get to in a bit. But for now, I think that these guys, again, even Bryce Young and Kyler and Caleb Williams aren't that far off these guys. But you said you would take Bryce over Trevor Lawrence and Dak, and possibly even Goff.
I'm telling you, this list you have,
mm-hmm.
and this is not necessarily, I think you might be right about Bryce's fantasy points, but who should be ranked higher as a quarterback for fantasy? I actually think you could move Bryce all the way up to 9.
Yeah.
Because, and honestly, I think Baker's too high. I think Justin in this, to me, I think Justin's more of a 7, and then Baker. I don't know. This group is the group that makes me nervous on your rankings.
Yeah,
because I don't have faith in any of these guys right now.
Yeah, these are more of like the system is going to get these guys to,
right.
to those yards.
In the Cowboys' case, a bad defense that you're going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah,
but Goff, the middle of that offensive line is not the same now. And they have a tougher schedule, and people are ready for them, and they have all those coaches changes. Goff could easily be 18 to 20 on this list.
Yeah,
depending on what happens with the Lions. And Lawrence was such a disappointment last year. He just was, and so he has talent around him, but with Trevor showing up, right? So I say that when I look at your list, that this is the one grouping that I thought, and I guess it's the middle of the rankings, so it's it could fluctuate, but back to what you were saying with Bryce. I think Bryce and Stroud would be higher on the list for me.
Yeah, that's understandable. He said these guys like Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, the system is going to have to elevate them. It's going to have to create, like I said, some of these guys are on teams with bad defenses, so they're going to be throwing a lot. And then you get other guys where the teams have good defenses, and you're like, okay, well, they might get some favorable opportunities. But that was 12 through 7. We'll kind of go one by one with these next ones because there is a decent gap. Patrick Mahomes, I have at 6. This offense with Rashee Rice coming back.
You're going to get hate mail on that one.
Yeah. But with Rashee Rice coming back, it's definitely good for Patrick Mahomes. But Travis Kelce is taking a step back. He's not the same guy he once was. And I think this offense is going to try and run the ball a little bit more. They have Pacheco, Hunt. They brought in Mitchell. They have Rashad Smith there. So I think this is going to be a team that runs a little bit more than people are expecting. And he would just have to take, a huge touchdown season for him to really get ahead of these other guys. And all of the other guys that are ahead of him, except for one, they all run the ball. And the one who doesn't run the ball has, probably one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. And Patrick Mahomes just doesn't have that. Do you think Patrick Mahomes would be at the bottom of?
Oh, yeah. I respect you ranking him where I think a lot of people really know where he's at.
Yeah.
But the fans will be mad that he's not number 1.
Yeah, the fans love them some Patrick Mahomes. I have Jalen Hurts 5 points ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Again, they didn't ban the tush push, so Jalen Hurts is going to get rushing touchdowns. I have him projected for 13 or 14, I think. And that's probably a number that might honestly be too low. I think that, he still has Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. His team throws the ball, he'll get his touchdowns, and then he'll get those rushing. And that rushing is really what brings Jalen Hurts into the top 5. You agree with him as well there?
Yeah, I like Hurts where he's at. I could think people could make the argument he could be a little higher because of the tush push.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think he's actually taking more control of the offense.
Yeah.
I actually think he's like scoring option 1 in many ways, whether he's throwing or running himself.
Yeah.
So, but 5 is good.
Yeah, then we got Jayden Daniels at 4, a guy who really balled out his rookie season, and the Commanders have done everything to put more around him this year. They brought in Debo. They didn't really address the running back position. They still have Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. They have Terry McLaurin there. So I think that this offense is going to continue to build around Jayden Daniels. I think they'll be better than they were last year. He has the rushing upside that, Patrick Mahomes probably doesn't have. So I like Jayden Daniels a lot here. I have him about 25 points ahead of Jalen Hurts. So it definitely is a big gap. Do you like Jayden Daniels at 4, or would you even maybe put him higher?
Not on who you have as 1, 2, and 3. Now, would you be shocked if he finished higher?
He could be quarterback 1.
He could be quarterback 1, but right now, projections.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like in my draft kit, I will have like consistency, upside, and risk ratings for each of these players. So it's like at this point, we're just going off of where they're ranked. And for me, Jayden Daniels should have a great season. We got Joe Burrow at 3. He's the only one in my top 5 that really doesn't have that rushing upside. Joe Burrow's not going to be rushing for 600 yards in the season. But you know what he does have? He does have a terrible defense, and he's got 2 of the best wide receivers in the league. This is an offense that runs through Joe Burrow. They're going to be throwing the ball. They have Chase Brown on the backfield who can catch. So I like Joe Burrow when he plays, when he's healthy. He's putting up fantasy points. Jamar Chase could possibly be the wide receiver 1. And if Joe Burrow just gets 4 touchdowns on the ground, he could possibly be the quarterback 1, even without the rushing upside. So you like Burrow?
I'm high on Burrow this year.
Yeah.
I think the Bengals are swinging back up on the offensive side. And, I think his numbers he's definitely top 3, top 4.
Yeah, I think I have Burrow probably projected to lead the NFL in passing yards. I would have to confirm, but that would be my estimation based on where he falls. I have him approximately 10 points ahead of Jayden Daniels, and 10 points ahead of Joe Burrow. We got Josh Allen, the guy who can do it all, again, has the rushing upside. The only difference for me between 1 and 2 is I like the weapons that Lamar Jackson has better in Baltimore, and I think that just really is the separation between the two. So I have Lamar Jackson as my quarterback 1, Allen as my quarterback 2. Lamar Jackson has weapons all over the fields with Flowers, Bateman. He's got the 2 tight ends, and Andrews and Likely. And then they definitely have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. They can both run the ball. Lamar Jackson could probably have 1,000 yards on the ground. He might not have as many touchdowns as Josh Allen, but he'll have more yards. So for me, I just like Jackson's surrounding cast a little bit better. So that's why he's my 1. Allen's my 2. Burrow, Daniels, Hurts, Mahomes. Do you agree with Jackson over Allen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know about you, but you just get the feeling Baltimore's putting it together this year.
Yeah.
Like they are ready to really put it together. And so I wouldn't be surprised if his points are a little bit higher than that. I think Baltimore's going to put a point. As a team, Baltimore is going to put up points this year. And that defense
I think I originally had this statted out. I had Jackson as the quarterback 1, and I had Henry as the RB 1. And I was like, wow, like this is the team that we're projecting big things for this season.
God help everybody if they ever got a real wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They had like Justin Jefferson or something. Oh my God.
Yeah, they brought in DeAndre Hopkins, which, should help a little bit in like the short yardage type situations, but he's not really the same guy he was. Yeah. Zay Flowers is at this point, is Zay Flowers their wide receiver 1? Is it Andrews? Is it Likely? It's kind of like they almost have a bunch of guys that are kind of around that same kind of level. So I like what they're doing in Baltimore, and I agree with you. I think this is the season they put it all together. I wouldn't be surprised if they're a Super Bowl team this year.
If I had to bet Super Bowl right now, it's Baltimore and Philly.
Yeah. I would agree with that. In the NFC, there's no one really sticking out at me like, okay, this team's definitely going to beat Philly. And AFC wise, I think that it's the Ravens, the Bills, the Bengals really just don't have the defense, and I'm not sure with the Chiefs. I think they're probably past their window.
I think the Chiefs are probably down. I wouldn't be shocked if the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs this year. Because it's just the cycle of the NFL, right? Like, they got to get some more young blood in there. I think they did a good job in their draft. I just wouldn't be surprised if they didn't even, like I said, I don't even know if they're locked to win the AFC West.
Well, they're in one of the toughest divisions with the Chargers, the Broncos, and then even the Raiders have made some massive improvements this offseason. So I agree. It definitely, Chiefs are on a little bit of a downhill. We'll see how long it lasts. They could still surprise everybody and win a bunch of games. Rashee Rice playing the whole season.
Yeah.
But there we go. There's 23 quarterbacks in 20 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you again next week. We'll be back with some running back rankings.
Thanks, Zach.
No problem.